No matter how many crash tests a car is put through, they don't necessarily pick up on every flaw. Certain models of the Vauxhall Zafira had a tendency to catch fire, something which only came to light when thousands were already on the road. Problems like this can only be sorted through a recall. In this case, Vauxhall owners highlighted the problem via social media. But Vauxhall recently admitted it knew about Zafiras catching fire in the 5 years before the recall. So what about other manufacturers?
Now this feels like a very safe car. In there, I'm surrounded by yards of chunky American steel. You get the feeling that other vehicles would just bounce off you in a collision.
It's a Jeep Cherokee, and looking a bit old these days. But back in the early 2000s, along with its big sister, the Grand Cherokee, it sold tens of thousands of vehicles on the forecourts. It was even more popular in America. But then a potentially fatal problem came to light. The former chairman of Chrysler's minivan safety team left the company over a dispute about safety. Paul Sheridan is now an expert witness testifying against his old employer.
The problem is the rear-mounted fuel tank. It's made out of plastic, it's behind the axle, it's below the bumper, it's completely unprotected from a collision. And when the tank breaks and fuel leaks, a fire occurs and the victims in the vehicle burn to death.
An internal Chrysler memo in 1978 warned of the risks associated with rear-mounted fuel tanks. Yet models of Cherokees with this design flaw began rolling off the production line from 1993. 75 people died in Jeep fuel tank fires. Chrysler refused a request from the US government to recall the cars. Then, in 2013, 20 years after it first went into production, they issued a voluntary recall. It came too late for Todd Anderson's 17-year-old son, Skylar.
Skylar hugged me twice before he left, and he drove away. And at some point, a driver in a pickup truck had lost an unsecured load in the form of furniture onto the highway.
Skylar was driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee. As he slowed down to avoid the unexpected obstacle, he was hit from behind and the Jeep burst into flames.
Skylar fought until the end, and fire was such that it consumed 100% of his body. And he had to crawl through jagged glass to get himself out of a vehicle. But he struggled to the end because he loved life. The tragedy in itself was debilitating emotionally. But what I learned immediately afterward was the vehicle was under recall.
12 months later, the same recall hit UK shores for Grand Cherokees manufactured from 1993 to 1998 and Cherokees built between 2002 and 2007.
More than 30,000 Jeeps with the rear-fitted fuel tank were recalled here in the UK. But we've discovered around 20,000 of those with this potentially lethal flaw have yet to be fixed.
Chrysler says the vehicles are safe. It last sent a UK follow-up recall letter on the 1st of April this year. It's got to be said that overall our cars are safer than they've ever been. And that comes down to pressure from governments, drivers, and yes, manufacturers and NCAP.